Howdy. One of my favorite all-time YouTube series on programming is this deep dive on Ramda.js. If you don't know what Ramda.js is, I highly recommend that you watch this entire series. There's actually a video that is available before this series that's kind of a build-up. But what the creator, Christopher Okhravi, maybe? I'm sorry if I mispronounced the last name, but it's just so useful. He goes through each function, taking a lot of time, learning as he's recording the video in most cases, making mistakes, trying to solve them, philosophizing about functional programming in general. Um, and it's a long series. It goes, I think I calculated it to be about 18 hours long, but it stops at filter. And I understand all the time that was put into this and other things, your life get in the way and other interests. For whatever reason, the tutorial or the series ended after filter. And I think that this series was so good that it deserves to be continued. And I am humbly going to attempt to pick up and continue all the way through. So, first, I want to say thank you to Chris. I wish Chris was continuing this, but it's been 7 years now, and he's very active. I still recommend going to his channel and checking out all the other stuff that he's talking about. But I love this series and this library so much that I just feel like I need to move forward with it. Plus, there's 41 videos. I mean, 42 obviously would be the place to start or to stop. But anyway, it's a great place to start. So I am going to call this series Pipe Dreams Randa Deep Dive Season 2. So this is like Game of Thrones or something where it takes like 5 years between seasons. Um, so Chris finished the last video at Filter, and I'm going to pick up on Find. And like I said, this is not the video to start with if you're learning Ramda. Start with Chris's series or, just go and check it out. The other thing I want to say is this library is old, in programming terms. I don't know how old. I want to say maybe 10 years by now. But what's so great about it is that because it's functional programming is not invented. Functional programming is discovered. These concepts already exist in nature and in math, and we just find out about it and figure out ways to use it. So the relevancy of Ramda has outlived so many other what should I say, libraries and frameworks that, are eventually replaced by something better, faster, more performant, more taking advantage of newer things that come out. But Ramda, I feel like is going to survive. It's so simple. Um, well, I shouldn't say simple. I mean, it's both simple and complex at the same time. That's what's great about it. Um, and there's nothing magic about Ramda. You can create all these functions yourself. Uh, but after a while, there's just no sense in it because you, for example, create a find method or find function and it's done. You never need to write it again. You just continue to use it. You can pose functions together. And for me, it just hits that spot of the happy spot. It's the way that I like to consider things. Um, So let's continue with this. Let's start with find, right? I'm gonna do the same thing. First I see the word transduce, and I don't know what that is yet either. Chris, as he was doing the original series, skipped some stuff, and I think that's fine. I'm gonna do the same thing. Um, Also, I am not a expert by any means in this stuff, so I would love for people to correct me on things or elaborate, help me as I'm trying to, ramble through and discover all the possibilities that we can use Ramda for. Uh, so yeah, let's dig into find, right? Um, I think the best thing to start with is probably the type definition and the or type signature. Which one is it? I don't know. But find is going to take a function as its first argument, and it's a predicate function, right? So it takes any type A and returns a Boolean, so true or false. And then we're going to take a list of A's, so some sort of array. Now, the thing that's cool about Ramda is it seems to treat strings like arrays of characters. Um, so I'm not sure if that's completely true all the time, um, but we'll try it out with a list and we'll try it out with a string and see what we get. And then it returns an A or undefined because the thing we're trying to find may not exist. So, and then let's look at this, expand parameters and just make sure, it looks pretty much like what I said. It takes a predicate function and a list and returns an object with the thing that we found or undefined if it doesn't exist. All right. Okay. So returns the first element of the list, which matches the predicate, or undefined if no element matches. And then all of this stuff here, which I do not understand. We'll get to it one day. So yeah, let's go in here and try to think of an example. I mean, we see the example they have, but let's make a list of x's. All right. And then, so what do we got here? We want to use r.find. Oh, r.find. Oh my goodness. R. I do not know what's going on there. So this is nice. We've got IntelliSense here. I never noticed that. That'll be helpful. So what do we want? The first argument, we want a function. So maybe we say a function that looks for a number over three, right? So we could take your x and a number over three, right? So let's give that a name. We'll call it finder. Not a good name, but that's okay. And yeah, so that's the function there. So then we could just use it to a console.log. In fact, I'm gonna just go ahead and alias log to console.log to save myself just a few characters. And let's log that sucker. Uh, we'll take our finder and apply it to our x's. And I've already made a mistake, so we're off to a good start. R is not defined. Of course, I have not imported the library. That would be helpful. So I'm going to do the same thing and import everything as R, just so I don't have to keep adding functions individually from Ramda. All right, save that, clear this. I've still made a mistake. Startup find. I guess oh, I need to install Ramda. I don't usually work like this. This isn't my normal workflow, so That should do it, maybe, right? No, on something else. Oh, a syntax error. I can live with that. All right. There's always some problems getting started. I have to get my head in the game. So let's clear that. Cross our fingers. It's got to work once, at some point, right? There we go. We got the number four because the number four is indeed greater than three, but it's the first one, right? So I'm assuming that this would make sense where once it finds the first value, it stops iterating through the list, right? Because if we had a list of like a million numbers and we were trying to find the first number over three, it would be a waste to go all the way through. I don't know if JavaScript does that too, but I'm going to hope that somebody made some sense of this and made a reasonable decision to do this. And, we can make our own. Uh, we could do something like my find and take an X. And if we wanted to curry it, we could first start with the X. Well, X would really be, yeah, it would be an X. It would be a value, the thing we want to find. And then we would need a list. And then once we've gathered all the arguments, we could just do the X's dot find the X, right? Is that right? So, this is in essence what Ramda is doing without digging into well, let's just do it. Let's go in here and look at the code. Right. Okay. So they're using Curry 2. They're using some internal functions here. They're using a while loop. So obviously, this is much more complete, probably taking into account a lot of different scenarios. But this is also very hard to kind of figure out without digging down and figuring what this dispatchable function is. And, I think what I'm describing here is the essence of what Ramda is doing. But let's first make sure that I didn't mess anything up. Let's make sure my find works. So let's see, my find, and then we would need to provide the function, and I'll just do the x. X is greater than 3, and hopefully we get the same result. We do. So that's essentially what's going on. In case you are learning about Randa for the first time watching this video, I hope that's not the case. That would be unfortunate. Um, but as you get more familiar, and if you enjoy this type of just geeking out on Ramda functions, then maybe this series will be enjoyable enough to watch. We'll see. Let's check out and see if we can do the same thing with strings, right? So let's do ABCs, and let's do an A, B. Typing and talking to people is an art that I have not mastered. So yeah, let's just do something and let's just find a C. Oh, well, I'm not doing a string. I'm doing an array of strings. Let's do a string. So let's do like the word, and we'll call the word word. And let's see if the word has an R. So let's make a function here, a predicate function called is R. Now that's capital. I'm going to look for the lowercase r. And so we're going to take an X. We're going to take a string. hopefully that will work. And then we're going to, let's see, what am I getting confused about? Is Rx and a string? Yeah, and I just want to say if X equals the string, right? I don't know why this is so confusing to me right now, but uh, it is. And I'll just reuse this. We'll do r.bind, and we'll pass in that predicate is R, and we're going to use the word. And let's see what that gives us. So that gives us a W. Now that, oh, no, it's not. I want to know if the is R is the letter R, right? So I don't need to make this a curried function. No, of course not. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. It's much simpler than that. We just want to take um, an X. I guess I'll call that str. Yeah, yeah, and it returns the R. But if I made a function that called is X, gave it an X, use that as the predicate function. Predicate function may be redundant. Maybe predicate means a function that returns true or false. So saying predicate function might be like saying a predicate function. Maybe it's redundant, but it may just be the way people talk as well. So yeah, but it does work on strings too. So what I find with Ramda is it really treats strings as array of characters, which I think is very useful. That's the way I kind of think about it. In fact, a lot of times where I need something that would be where people would reach for a regex. I don't know regexes very well at all. The syntax is so ugly, and I don't need to use it very often. I just don't. I don't like learning about it. I forget about it because I don't use. You don't. If you don't use it, you lose it, kind of thing. So I find that anything you need a regex for, you can generally use array functions and or array methods or a library like Ramda and treat them as an array of characters and use these functions like bind and filter and things like that and still come up with the same answer as you would use a regex for because a regex, I don't care how good you are at it, it still takes some time. You got to really zero in on it. And with using functions, you can give them good names and names that describe what the function is doing. So that's another thing that I really like about Ramda. I also like the way it uses equals and checks if objects are equals in the way that you would think it would work instead of by reference. It's completely off topic, but these are just some things I've discovered about Ramda that it just works the way my mind wants to think about things. Um, so what else do we have here? I mean, this is a pretty common function, and I think we all know about the native array find method. So I don't really know much else to talk about here, but I do want to be thorough and I want to allow my mind to wander because I think that's one of the best benefits of this original series, which I'll call season one, is, you know, it's unapologetically too long sometimes. There'll be the video about increment and decrement. I saw it, it's 20 minutes long. It's like, how do you talk about increment and decrement for 20 minutes? But it's not that hard. And especially if you're enthusiastic about it. And at this point in the series, the first video, which I should call video zero, I'm pretty enthusiastic about this. So hopefully this won't be one of those things that I think it's a good idea and I start and then fall off. It is summertime, so I don't want to spend too much time indoors doing this. But if you're into this series, there's got to be somebody else out there that's happy that somebody's at least attempting to finish this off because, it, I just hate to see the series unfinished, right? It's like a TV show that gets canceled before the last episode, and it's just So anyway, appreciate you spending your time with me, and tell a friend. Oh, and if Chris, if you're out there and you happen to come across this video, please leave a comment and let me know what you think about somebody else doing this. I know that you've put so much time and effort into this, and if you continue doing this, I would love to watch your videos. But you got other things going on, I'm sure, and so I'm gonna do it unless you tell me you got a problem with it. So anyway, enjoy your day.